Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Ryan, and this is That Random Geeky Guy. Today, we are doing an tech influencers, one versus one challenge. So we're looking at some of the top tech influencers on YouTube specifically, and pitting them off against each other. It's kind of a keep or lose. It's kind of like a soft version of Sophie's Choice, where if you had to choose to keep one of them, you can, but then you lose the other one. So, a bit of an interesting one and potentially a bit of a controversial one. So I want to get into this and talk about who I would keep and who I would lose. Now, bear in mind, this is my opinion. This is my kind of taste. You can disagree, and I hope that you do. Stick it in the comment section below. Anything that you would say about these pairings and what they would look like. And also, if you were to pair them together, or should I say pair others together, who would you pair? Who have I missed out? What would you look at? So, let's start big. Let's start as we intend to go on. So we're going to jump over to the beautiful Microsoft Edge browser so that you guys can see exactly what I'm looking at. Like I said, it's all about my opinion. If you disagree, make sure you stick that in the comment section below. Anyway, look, here we go. So the first kind of pairing, or the first challenge, is going to be between Linus Tech Tips. I'm pretty certain if you're into tech, you're watching this channel, I imagine you probably are into tech. And let's go against Mkbhd. Cool, so two absolutely massive tech influencers. Very similar in terms of their readership or their subscribers. You've got 13.3 million from Linus Tech Tips, and then 13.9 million from Mkbhd. You could argue, though, slightly different content. What they do have in common is the quality of their content. I don't just mean in terms of the content itself, script writing, so on and so forth, but they're obviously both very, very focused on the technical quality of their videos, which I think I can really appreciate. Now, a slightly different approach. You look at Linus Tech Tips. Obviously, Linus is the face of Linus Tech Tips, but there are multiple different presenters. They're really big, especially in kind of the last 5 years. They've absolutely exploded, got over 50 employees, multiple channels, loads of stuff going on. Mkbhd, an absolute a huge favorite amongst a lot of manufacturers, but a lot of his content is really centered around consumer products as opposed to enthusiast products. So slightly different content, but again, really high quality production value. They've both started dabbling in cars recently. And yeah, I think they're a good matching. Now, the real question is, if you were making that decision between Linus Tech Tips and Mkbhd, who would you keep and who would you lose? That's kind of the caveat here. You have to lose the other person. Now, don't get me wrong, when we look at some of the other pairings, you might go, well, whoever I've lost from this one, I would keep that over anybody in those other two. But that's the whole point of the game. You lose whichever one you don't choose. So make sure you choose the one that you want. Okay, let's start with this pairing then. So Linus Tech Tips versus Mkbhd. I think it's probably quite obvious which way I would go. I have a t-shirt on today as a little nod to one of my favourite YouTubers. I would keep LTT. So my reason for that being is that whilst they both produce absolutely incredibly good content, and it would be a real shame to lose Mkbhd, in terms of what I like about technology and what really kind of engages me, the content that comes from LTT kind of fits that, and it works better for me. I like that kind of hacker modifier approach, and looking into technology beyond the consumer level, and definitely enthusiasts and beyond. So yeah, for me, my vote is LTT. Would that be the same for you? Make sure you stick it in the comment section below, and maybe you'd lose LTT and keep Mkbhd. What would it be for you? What's next then? So let's go for, like, a bit of controversy. Let's take this one out of here. Right, let's have a look at Austin Evans. I'm sure, again, if you're into your tech, you'll know who Austin Evans is with his 4.97 million subscribers. Let's do a bit of a different approach. So obviously Mkbhd and LTT were very similar in terms of reach, so on and so forth. Let's look at Unbox Therapy. So yeah, this puts Austin really up against it. So Austin Evans, 4.97 million subscribers, up against Unbox Therapy with 17.9 million subscribers. Wow. Yeah, Lou's kind of hammering it over there. One of the, or I believe the top tech YouTuber at the moment. Correct me if I'm wrong. And yeah, very, very different content. So again, Unbox Therapy, very polished, very brand focused. By that I mean they're creating their own brand. You've got Willie Do, you've got Lou, and they are very relaxed in their content, but definitely, definitely very high production value. They've also recently gone into their Batman layer, which is kind of fitting into that brand perspective. Again, very consumer product focused, not so much in terms of PC modification and so on and so forth. It is very much consumer products, and I think they do a lot of sponsored influence as well. Going across to Austin Evans, completely different kettle of fish. Austin is definitely a character, definitely has a strong personality, and he does a lot of kind of cool stuff in terms of broke versus pro, a lot of the buying random stuff off Wish, that sort of bits and pieces. His production value is nowhere near as high. Actually, his videos a lot of the time have a lot less point to them. But yeah, completely different content and might have a different appeal as a result. So for me, very controversially, I would actually lose Unbox Therapy. That's right, I would lose Unbox Therapy and keep Austin Evans. Now, I know that's going to be a real controversial decision, and maybe something that not everybody necessarily agrees with. If you don't, stick it in the comment section below and explain why you don't. If you do and you love Austin Evans for whatever reason, make sure you stick that in the comment section below as well, and make sure people know why you're choosing them. Okay, let's move on to another one. Now, this one is going to be quite an interesting one, I think. So let's do RandomFRANKP. Here we go, with his 1.88 million subscribers versus Techsource. Now, this is going to be a controversial one, I think, as well. Techsource, 3.09 million subscribers. This is, like I say, going to be a bit of an unusual one because this is very much, like I say, my personal opinion. They both have a subject within a lot of their videos that cross over massively. Now, what that will be is that RandomFRANKP does the room tour project, and Techsource does setup wars, which essentially evaluating people's setups. Not so much roasting. I think they do roasts and stuff like that, but it's actually just kind of comparing them, different episodes, getting winners, so on and so forth. Now, this is where it gets controversial. You look at RandomFRANKP's videos, and he's even mentioned himself in the past how he's got criticised for, shall we say, copying setup wars. It's actually not true. RandomFRANKP existed first. He did his own kind of content in terms of the room tour project before setup wars. Now, I don't know why, and again, it's personal preference. I can't gel to Techsource's content as much. It just doesn't feel as natural to me. And as a result, for me, it's a no-brainer. I would keep RandomFRANKP and I would lose Techsource. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think I'm being biased? What do you think? Make sure you comment in the section below as to your thoughts and who out of those two you would keep or you would lose. Okay, so that's 3 comparisons down. What's up next? So, number 4, we are gonna do JayzTwoCents. So JayzTwoCents versus, let's have a look. What's a fair one? Let's do Hardware Canucks. There we go. So you got Dimitri over at Hardware Canucks as well as some other presenters, but primarily centered around him. And then you've got JayzTwoCents, who does, again, his normal content, and he's also recently released a weekly pod show, which is the RTFM show, which is actually pretty cool. Make sure you check it out. There is a link to all of these YouTubers down below in the video description. 2, again, very different contents here. Well, I say very. Actually, they have a lot of overlapping. There is a lot of product tests going on in both of the channels. There is product builds going on in both of the channels. I would argue that maybe Hardware Canucks is slightly more polished, slightly more cinematic in their video production. But I think JayzTwoCents for me is slightly more relatable. And I think it's that builder principle, that modifier principle. I think he's a very talented guy. You look at some of the mods that he's done in the past in terms of paint jobs and that kind of custom look. I think they're absolutely brilliant. And that's what he's done in the past. So for me, between the two of these guys, between JayzTwoCents and Hardware Canucks, for me, I would lose Hardware Canucks. Sorry, Dimitri, but I would keep JayzTwoCents because I think it kind of fits more my taste and what it is that I look for in content. And that kind of leads on really well to my next question. So my next question for you is, what do you look for in content? What's important to you? Do you care more about production value? Do you care more about products? Do you care more about customization, modification, you know, in terms of making something your own? Or actually, do you like that kind of polished finish? Let me give you an example. So this week, Apple announced an array of new products, including an M1-enabled iPad Pro, an M1-enabled entry-level iMac, which is a big change versus their old iMacs. It's essentially a 24-inch iPad running iOS. And they're very polished products. They look fantastic, but for you kind of modders out there and you kind of custom builders, it's not going to be that appealing to you, I can imagine. So what do you look for from your tech influencers, from your tech YouTubers? Who are your favorites? Who could you live without? Make sure that you stick those down in the comment section below. I've had a little nod today, like I said, to Linus Tech Tips with an LTT t-shirt on today. Make sure you do head on over to that randomgeekyguy.com, pick up a Stealth Traces t-shirt. Massively supports the channel. Got an awesome project coming next weekend, so make sure you stick around for that. If you're not subscribed, smash that subscribe button. Hit the like button if you love this video. Thumbs down if you didn't like it. Other than that, guys, thank you for joining me, and I shall see you next time.